What is good, everybody? Welcome back to the Didn't Ask podcast. As always, I'm your host, Djimon, and today I will be diving back into the world of Reddit to see what the people asked Reddit and didn't ask me. How is everybody doing? I hope you're doing good. I had a okay week. I've been a little bit ill. Nothing to worry about, luckily. Been feeling better today, so that is going the right track. Yeah, today, like I said, we will be diving back into the world of Reddit. I've got 5 questions from the Ask Reddit subreddit and 1 question, as always, from the Am I the Asshole subreddit. The questions are good. I vouched them beforehand, and I think there are some interesting questions that can be given to them. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the first question of today. And this one was asked by user Krill0, and they ask, if Wakanda has Black Panther, what does your nation have? And this is a funny thing to think about, because, Black Panther is, of course, like they say, the symbol of Wakanda. So what would our symbol be? And my head immediately goes to, like, what are our export products? Or what are we known for? So I was thinking about the tulip. I was thinking about wooden clogs. I was thinking about licorice. And those 3 things combined, I think, would make a funny superhero. So imagine this, it's a guy or girl or anything in between. I don't really care. Their head piece, like their mask, is basically like a tulip. And they wear wooden clogs, of course. And the wooden clogs, very nice for kicking. You can kick somebody in the head, they go out immediately, just get cracked, right on the jaw. And with that, he has the ability, they have like a gun, and that is filled with licorice, as we call it, drop. And he can use that to shoot at the enemy. So it's non-lethal, because we gotta be in the vein of like a Captain America, you know what I mean? We don't want to hurt people too bad, because even though they're criminals, we don't want to go down to their level. So we're gonna just shoot at them with licorice while hitting them with wooden clogs, while also looking like a tulip. So I would call this superhero the tulip, and I think that is a great representation for our superhero. So move over, Black Panther, because the tulip is in town. So Krill0, I should say. Thank you for your question. If Wakanda has Black Panther, what does your nation have? And again, I would go with the tulip. That's their name, and it is a person with a tulip on their head, basically as a mask / headgear piece. They would have wooden clogs and have a gun that's filled with licorice so that they can shoot at the enemies. Thank you for your question. Moving on to question number 2 for today. The first question was quick, so let's keep it moving. This one was asked by user Machine Pata, and they ask, a single shot could make you immune to illnesses and extend your life by 500 years. But it makes you infertile. What would you do? And for me, even though I am, like I said, a little bit ill right now, a little bit of a headache, but nothing much going on further than that, this is an interesting question, but also not that quiet, because getting an injection or like a vaccine against all illnesses, that's cool. But extending your life to 500 years, that's fucking crazy. I never really understand people that want to live forever, because I feel like if you live forever, you're gonna just be so lonely. Because you're gonna have lived so many lifetimes, and you've had so many friends, family members come into the world and die, and then come into the world and die. And if, I don't know if you need to keep this a secret for some reason, but if you do, that means that you're there's gonna be a time where you have to just peace out, and then you're just living on your own or something, or like you have to travel constantly. Like, to me, living for a very long time seems like the worst thing in the world. Like, honestly, because there are so many things that are gonna be around you, and especially when you're immune to all illnesses. So let's say, and let's hope not, but like, I mean, let's flash back to 2019. Everybody was having a fun time, and then 2020 came in and Corona just popped off. Just imagine everybody being wildly afraid of a virus like that, and then you just chilling because you know that it doesn't hurt you in any way, shape, or form. So I think that that is a bit of a weird thing to think about, because not only are you living for a very long time, you're also immune to all illnesses. So even when something like the plague or corona or fucking Ebola or whatever comes along, you're just chilling, which takes a whole piece of life off of you in a sense, because you don't have to be afraid for those type of things anymore. You don't have to be afraid of cancer. You don't have to be afraid of like major illnesses or whatever. And on one side, that is of course great, but on the other, it's so weird that you don't have to be afraid for that anymore. And again, like I said, living 500 years is such a long time, and lots of people will die around you, and you will have to live with those consequences for basically an eternity at this point, because 500 years, that's a lot. That's at least 6 or 7 generations like of people that you will then live by, or live next to. And also, what makes this even worse for me is that it makes you infertile, which means, I mean, we can technically, you can probably diverge this by just storing your semen, storing my semen at like the sperm bank, and then getting the injection and then still having babies. But I digress, because that's probably not what they mean. But if I become infertile, that means, yeah, no kids. And even though I'm not really, pushing for kids, because some people really do, some people really want kids in their life, I personally am not that big into having kids, but I would imagine myself having kids at some point in my life. So it's really sad that you can live up to 500 years old, but don't have anybody to share this with, realistically speaking, because you're not going to have kids, you're not going to see your grandkids and your great grandkids, etc., etc. So with that all, I'm going to say, machine pata, a single shot can make you immune to illnesses and extend your life by 500 years, but it makes you infertile. What would you do? I would not take this injection. To me, there are so many cons to this. Just having the 500 years extra that you have to live seeing everybody around you die, basically, and not having kids and grandkids to share that with, seems to me like a fucking terrible, terrible time. So I would personally not take the shot. But thanks anyway for your question. Moving on to question number 3 for today. Why did or did you not get vaccinated? So this is an interesting point, because vaccination is a very interesting thing to think about, because on one side it is, science basically subverting human nature in a sense. So I can see why people are, hesitant about that. I personally did get vaccinated, and I think that it's very important. And people that said that they don't want to get vaccinated, have to realize that from a young age, we have been vaccinating kids against all different types of diseases and illnesses and you name it. And for a very long time, very little people had any problem with that. But lately, thanks to the internet and how widely used the internet is nowadays, we have been seeing a decline in people getting vaccinated and mostly kids getting vaccinated, which resulted in an increase of kids getting ill, which is absolutely horrific. So I don't know from the top of my head, but I believe the pox came back for kids and have even been affecting kids that have been vaccinated because thanks to the people that didn't get vaccinated, the virus, or yeah, the virus basically grew stronger and started basically mutating, as if I speak correctly, and therefore kids that didn't get vaccinated could transfer to kids that did get vaccinated, and resulting in the kids that got vaccinated still getting affected by that. And this is one of the reasons why I did get vaccinated against COVID-19, because I just don't want to be the person that brings this over to my grandparents, and don't want to be the person that gets very sick from this. And all the horror stories you've been hearing, and of course you can say like, oh, the media is just blowing this up and whatever, but I have people in my direct surroundings that have still been affected by the effects that COVID had on them. They've been tired, they've been out of breath very quickly, and these things should be mitigated by a vaccine. And again, I am not a doctor, so please don't, hang your head on everything that I say, but just knowing the facts that, hey, if you get vaccinated, the chances of you at least transmitting it are way lower. You might test positive, but the side effects of having corona after the vaccine are way different and way less than if you're not getting vaccinated. All those things combined for me made it so that I was like, well, I'm gonna get vaccinated. I feel like this is very important. And even though I am not the person that likes to go out, have drinks in bars and whatever, I still want to feel safe. And like I said, we've been getting vaccinated for many years. And especially, for me, like I traveled a lot before the pandemic, especially when I was younger. And we went on holidays every year and you name it. And for quite a few of those, you had to get vaccinated for some sort of disease or infection or you name it. And at the time, I didn't ask questions because, mostly because I was a kid, but I got those vaccines and I've been all right, I guess. I don't know. You need to question like what is all right, what's not, but I've been feeling fine and I've been getting those vaccines for such a long time that this one, it's not gonna really hurt me in the long run. Especially hearing Shannon Woodward talk about this. And for you that don't know, Shannon Woodward is an actress, but she was also very much a front runner basically when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine. So if you want to hear more about that, you should go to the Kind of Funny channel, which is just youtube.com/kindoffunny. And there should be a Kind of Funny podcast episode with Shannon Woodward, where she explains basically how she got into the Pfizer trial. And she basically explains what the vaccine actually is. Because people have been saying like, oh, this vaccine basically rewrites your DNA and stuff like that. And she's been saying like, no, everything that they inject are basically like proteins. So your body absorbs everything that it needs and then, flushes the rest out. And because of the modern day science that have been used with this vaccine, it made so that the vaccine could be generated very quickly, but also made it very safe because there is no weird, substance in this vaccine other than the protein that is needed to transfer the vaccine or basically inject the vaccine. And even in animal trials, they have seen that animals that have been exposed to the vaccine and got fully vaccinated and then got exposed to the COVID-19 virus that they basically showed no effect to the virus anymore. So with that being said, that was really all of this, all of the above, everything I mentioned before are the reasons I got vaccinated. I just want to feel safe. I want to, protect me, but also protect others. And people that say that that's a dumb idea, have you never heard of a condom? You protect yourself, you protect others with a condom. So if you're saying that this is stupid, don't do this because they're trying to infect you with microchips or I don't know, it's all bullshit. I don't care about that. We've been vaccinated for a very long time, and please keep doing it because it has an effect. And like I said in the beginning of this, we have seen a decline in vaccination rate here in the Netherlands, which resulted in an increase in illnesses, especially among children. So please get vaccinated so that everybody is safe, not only you, but also the people you care about. So thank you. Isir Flot, why did you not get vaccinated? Well, I just talked about this for 5 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. So that's why I got vaccinated. Thank you for your question. Moving on to the fourth question of today. And this one was asked by user finisher_325. And they ask, what is your favorite game? And this is a very easy question for me. My favorite game is Saints Row. And I'm not sure if I talked about my favorite game on this podcast. I looked through my notes and I couldn't directly find it, but I've talked about video games basically every week because I love video games and it's such a big part of my life and the person who I've become. So I have to say that Saints Row is my favorite video game ever. The whole franchise is such an interesting franchise where Saints Row 1 started out as a GTA San Andreas clone and basically grew out to be an absurd, bonkers story about gang wars and gangs fighting aliens and you name it. Saints Row 3 especially is my favorite, even though Saints Row 2 gets a lot of love from all the fans, because I feel like Saints Row 2 is basically, and of course it's 2, it's between 1 and 3, but it's like the perfect balance between the GTA style gameplay, a good storyline, but also like a little more ridiculous than GTA is, where it's more realistic and more grounded, but still has some weird elements in there. But yeah, so finisher_325, what's your favorite video game? It's Saints Row. Saints Row has such an incredible story behind it. And like I said, it started out as a San Andreas clone, but then grew out to be its own franchise and basically became a parody of what the games are and what games could be. And that's what basically draws me towards Saints Row. It's just such a fun time and it's having fun with the aspect of what games could be. You know what I mean? So thank you for your question. And now the final question of the Ask Reddit subreddit for today. And this one is a little different because I thought this one was going to be a fun one. So let me read you the question asked by user William84000. And they ask, women of Reddit, what question do you have of men that you'd really like an answer to? So this question is, like I said, a little different. It is more of a, gathering topic, but I think we can answer a couple of these questions asked by the women of Reddit. So let's start with the first one that I thought was pretty interesting. And it was asked by user Snowy Avocado, and they ask, how long does it take to recover if you've been hit in the balls? And this, of course, depends on how hard you get hit, where precisely you get hit, but it can take a couple of minutes when you really get hit. Like sometimes when you get a nut shot and you're just there and you're laying on the floor just not knowing really what to do with yourself. Sometimes you get tapped on the balls and it takes you like 10 seconds and you're just like, oh, everything is fine now. But it can take up to a couple of minutes depending on how hard you're gonna get hit. So thank you for your question. This one was asked by user DoodlePenguin5, and they said, "My friend asked me this once, don't you wax your dick? And no, at least I don't, because there's no hair on there." So I don't know. I don't know. That's a weird question, kind of. Who has a hairy dick? I've never heard of a hairy dick. So the answer is no. This one was asked by Line Dizzy, and they ask, "What makes you feel loved?" And this is a more deep question because this is more about love languages, and this is not necessarily a man-wide thing. Because again, love languages are different for everybody else. So my love language would be physical touch. So I like hugging people. Words of affirmation are always nice. Like, "Oh, you did a good job." I cook here at home for me and my mom, and I always ask, everything fine? Can I do something else? Things like that. So yeah, that would be my answer to you. Let's look for one more. Oh, this is an interesting one. Dookie Conductor asks, "Do guys care if women get cosmetic procedures done?" And I think the answer is yes. It all depends, of course, on what the cosmetic procedure is. But for the most part, I feel like, and this may sound hard, and we might need to get some input from women on this, but I sometimes feel like women put too much of an emphasis on how they look, especially comparing that to men and what men want. But you have to remember that for everything that you can do to yourself, there is somebody that really loves you for who you are. So, do guys care if women get Jesus? Do guys care if women get cosmetic procedures done? And the answer is, I think yes, they do, but in a different way than women think that they do. Because I personally believe that women shouldn't have to do anything to themselves to, feel more loved. Because I think that there is a person for everybody, and there is somebody that loves you for who you are. Do your cosmetic procedures give you more attention? Probably. Because if you're gonna get your tits fucking pumped up, yeah, you're gonna get more attention for that. But I don't know if you really want that attention. So, Dookie Conductor, yeah, do guys care if women get cosmetic procedures done? I would say they do care, but not in a way that women think, I think. So thank you for your question, and thank you, original poster that goes by the name of William84000 for your question, because this was a fun one. I might want to visit this in the future again and look some other questions out from this one. So thank you. And now moving on to the Am I the Asshole subreddit for today. And this question was asked by Ligamentary. I don't know what that means, and I hope I didn't insult anybody. But they ask, "Am I the asshole for offering to pay for a stranger's groceries and then declining when they didn't buy what I expected? I was in line at the grocery store on my lunch break with a couple of coworkers. The woman in front of me at checkout, baby in tow, came up short on her bill. I was happy to cover the extra because we've all been through a tough time. She was super appreciative, and I was happy to do it. Then she said, 'Oh, actually, can I get one more thing? I hadn't got it because I didn't know if I could cover what's in my cart, but,' and I told her, no problem. Most of her cart was staple items like oatmeal, baby food, so I figured she was getting some eggs or something. She came back with a fairly expensive bottle of wine and a prime rib. I declined to pay for that and said if she wanted a basic staple, I was happy to pay for that. She got upset, saying I had bait and switched her, but the line had to keep moving, so she checked out without those other items. That was that. Once the situation was over, my coworkers said they thought I was wrong to make the offer and not follow through. because it wasn't my place to judge what she was getting. Once I offered it, I offered it. Now I'm in conflict. Did I do the wrong thing by telling her what she could and couldn't buy? Am I the asshole? And I can tell you, ligamentary, you are not the asshole. This person in front of you clearly took advantage of the situation. Because like you were saying, if she has a couple of groceries that you're just like, oh, she has like some bread, some oatmeal, some baby food, those are all staple things like you're saying. Those are things that a normal human being would use. But her going out to get an expensive bottle of wine and a prime rib, that's disgusting. Like, personally, I would feel bad if I would come short of my bill and somebody offered to pay me. I would at that point already be like, no, it's fine. I'll just take the orange juice off and, drink some water instead or whatever. But this person going out of their way to grab an expensive bottle of wine and a prime rib once you offered to pay for her, that's an absolute bait and switch on her side. This is not your fault. So the coworker that said that you're in the wrong is absolutely a fucking waffle merchant. You are totally not in the wrong. You did totally what was right by offering to pay her groceries that were already there, that she was willing to pay for, and then her going out of her way to just grab something else that is totally not necessary, I might add. If it, like you were saying, if it was butter or eggs or, I don't know, maybe, some crackers or maybe even like a pack of cookies or crisps or whatever you want to call them, I would have been like, okay, if it was a couple of dollars or a couple of euros, that's fine. But you're gonna spend a prime rib, that's at least, what is it, $40, $30, $40, maybe even more than that. That's just insulting. So at that point, yeah, you can say like, you can go screw yourself, just pay for the shit you already got, because I'm not gonna pay for your expensive bottle of wine and the prime rib. You can figure that shit out on yourself, because I'm not gonna pay for that any day of the week. Because again, I wouldn't buy a bottle of wine and a prime ribs for myself, let alone for a fucking stranger. So, ligamentary, am I the asshole for offering to pay for a stranger's groceries and then declining when they didn't buy what I expected? No, you're clearly not the asshole. The person that tried to pull the swerve on you is the asshole. And they clearly tried to scam you out of your money by getting a prime rib and a bottle of wine that they probably would sell off anyways. So, and thank you for your question. And that has been it for the Didn't Ask podcast for this week. I hope you had a good time. I will be back next week. In the meantime, please go back and check out the previous episodes of this podcast. You can find them in any podcast app of your choosing, or you can find them on anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod. You can also find what I'm watching via track.tv. That link will be in the show description. If you have a question to ask me, please go to anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod. And there you find the button, and then you can record yourself asking your question, and I can put your voice recording in the podcast and answer your question for you. If you don't want to hear your voice on this podcast, that's no problem. At the beginning of your message, just say, hey, I don't want this to be put into the podcast, and then I'll just take your question and then read it out loud for myself and answer your question anyways. So, that is it for me for this week. I hope to see you back next time. And now, say it for now. Goodbye.